Good morning, Carlos Ramirez, owner of NVS Audio in Roselle, New Jersey. You guys have been asking for the 8-inch coax speaker review, and then I've been working on it for a while, so I finally got all the results together. Now I just got to edit all the videos. So now we're going to start with the biggest, most powerful, most expensive. This is the BEYMA Pro8FX370ND. This is one of the most sought after competition 8-inch coaxial speakers. It is massive. Everything about it is huge. It has a huge magnet for the horn tweeter. It has a huge neodymium magnet for the woofer. It is the most expensive. It is the most powerful. Of course, it outperformed all the other 8-inch. The only one you can really compare this to is the Euphoria Expert. So we have a totally separate video coming up, and then I'm gonna work on putting those two head to head. The reason it's taken me so long to do the videos is there's no two of these drivers that can be compared to the other. As far as pricing, the BEYMA is $800 each. So you're talking $1,600 for a pair. The Euphoria Expert is similar in price, but even those two cannot really be compared head to head because the Euphoria is a 4-ohm driver and the BEYMA is an 8-ohm driver. So if you just compare them head to head on the same amplifier, the Euphoria is going to play louder because it's going to pull more power from the amplifier because of the lower impedance. So if you were running, let's say, in order to make it fair, you would have to run both of them on a Sound Digital 3K or a 1600.1, and then we would have to make the impedance of the driver match the impedance of the amplifier to give us equal wattage. So for example, we would have to do, let's say we did a pair of the BEYMAs, and then that would net us down, if we were driving the woofers only, to a 4-ohm load. Then we can use a 1600.1 4-ohm, and then we would get 800 watts across each woofer. Then testing the Euphoria, we would have to do two of the Euphorias in parallel, 4-ohm woofers, and then we would have to use a 1600.1 2-ohm, which would also net us a 800 watts across each. But you cannot run both this. For example, if you wanted to bridge a 2400.4, if you did a 2400.4 4-ohm, then that would give each of the Euphorias 1200 watts. Running the BEYMA on the same amplifier would only give them 600 watts because of the 8-ohm impedance. So it's really hard to compare these drivers to each other. So for the head-to-head test, it's going to take me a couple more weeks. I'm going to have to set up, to make it fair, we need equal RMS wattage across each woofer, which would require two different impedance amplifiers. So that test is going to take me longer to set up with all the stuff I have going on in the shop. So I tested all the speakers individually, and then I'll give you my results of how the speakers did. So BEYMA is obviously the most expensive at $1,600 for the pair, but along with that price tag comes a ton of performance. The mid bass was incredible. It has a large diameter horn tweeter with a huge flare on it and a giant magnet, so the tweeter was super duper loud. This thing rocked the test bench. It played super low. Something that in the frequency response, I'll show you later, was pretty damn good. It played from 80, 100 hertz all the way up to 20K with very little variation. There weren't giant peaks or dips. So it's obvious why everybody runs these in competition. If you have the power to throw at it, it is literally one of the best competition speakers on the market. There is nothing bad I can say about this speaker. And just like anything else that's really, really good, it's really, really expensive. But for that price tag, you get a ton of performance. We tested it on a 1200.2 bridged. We tested it on an 800.4 bridged. And we ran the tweeter separately on an 804. So bridged 2 channels to the woofer, and then ran 1 channel stereo to the horn driver through our NVS Audio 12 dB Pro8FX passive crossover. That way we can get the most out of the tweeter without blowing it up, and it did really, really well. It's what you would come to expect from BEYMA. BEYMA makes high quality product that performs. It is carbon fiber, so the cone is weather resistant. The only issue that I have is there is no weatherproof cap to protect the voice coil. So BEYMA claims it's weather resistant. I know for a fact that if you use these in a speaker lid and get it wet, you're probably gonna destroy the voice coil. So the cone will be okay, the voice coil will not. So most of the bikes that are running these drivers will never see rain. Most of them are trailer queens, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for a speaker to be weather resistant, there has to be a rubber boot in here, and there is not. Then having a flared horn this big obstructs some of the mid bass and some of the mid range. So what some of the competitors do is they actually drill holes in the flange to allow some of the mid range to pass through while still getting a ton of output from the tweeter. It's not good or bad, it's just different. So if you're running a speaker with a giant horn tweeter like this, a lot of the cone area is blocked. So what a lot of these fabricators do is they'll machine holes all the way around to allow more of the mid-range to pass through. Depends on your application. We did test it with the horn flare on and the horn flare off. The mid-range obviously improved because it's not hitting the back of the horn, but it affected the disbursement of the tweeter frequencies. So I like the fact that it's removable. That way you can paint it, you can modify it, you can do whatever you want to do. On a lot of these speakers, this is not removable, and it's metal, not plastic. The speaker performed extremely well. One major difference between the Euphoria Expert and the BEYMA, the Euphoria is weather resistant. Euphoria does have that rubber boot, so you can actually run it in your speaker lids and get it wet and not worry about destroying it. Don't know how important that is to you guys. Just so you understand what boot I'm talking about, it's that rubber boot right there. That keeps water from getting inside the voice coil of the speaker. Any speaker that doesn't have that and claims that it's weatherproof, I don't agree. So if there's a company telling you that it's weatherproof and it doesn't have the boot, just make sure you reach out to them and make sure that they're going to warranty the speaker if you do get water in there. I know for a fact Diamond Audio does not recommend getting the speaker wet because the Diamond Audio MP series does not have that boot. So it's basically any speaker with a horn in the center. Euphoria is one of the only companies that figured out how to put a horn in the center and still get the rubber boot on there. The Diamond Audio makes great speakers, but only the MS series is rated to be weather resistant. But back to the BEYMA. Excellent frequency response. It's one of the only speakers on the market that we've tested that's this powerful, but sounds really, really good whether you run mid-level power or high power. I wouldn't say low power because these speakers, when you underpower them, they do not, that's not what the speaker's designed for. It's designed to have a super huge amount of power. So on mid-level power, by mid-level I mean 400 or 500 watts, they sound really good. But to really get the most out of this driver, because this driver literally costs as much as, it costs double what a really high quality driver, but you also get double the performance at those power levels. So what other 8-inch speaker on the market do you know that you can run 1200 watts to, 800 watts to, and not destroy the speaker? Obviously this is all on a proper tune with really aggressive crossover slopes, but a lot of the competition guys run it because it's literally one of the only speakers on the market that could take the power. We just had a bike in here that had a 2404 running 2 of these, which was insane. We also had another one with a 2404 running 4 of these, which was also super impressive. Aren't very many speakers on the market we could do that with and not destroy the speaker. So let's get to the listening test. But badass speaker. Only issue is if you're running Dirty Bird lowers, it'll fit. You're gonna need a spacer because obviously the magnet is huge. You could barely tell the spacer's there if you run a 1/2 inch spacer and use a nice grill. You can barely tell the spacer's there because the Dirty Bird has that nice lip around it. So when you look at it from the top, none of the flange is exposed, even after running the spacer. It's BEYMA. What else could I say? You pay a lot of money, but you get a lot of performance. So definitely 2 thumbs up with this driver. Let me run you through some of the tests so you can see and hear what I heard. The reason we have to do, we're not going to be able to really put a lot of these, any of these 8-inch coaxes head to head with each other because they are all fundamentally different. So I like to test speakers that are very similar. That way you can see which one performs better in which category. These all have completely different categories, so it's hard to put them head to head with each other. So the BEYMA is not available in a 4-ohm. The Euphoria is available in a 4-ohm. The BEYMA has a much larger horn. The Euphoria has a smaller horn. The BEYMA is not weatherproof. So the cone is weatherproof, but if you get water, if water collects on the cone, it will destroy the speaker. The Euphoria is 100% weatherproof. So it would be a weatherproof speaker versus non-weatherproof speaker, which doesn't make sense to compare. And we've noticed that a lot of the non-weatherproof speakers, being that they didn't have to make certain restrictions to weatherproof them, outperform the weatherproof speakers. So it wouldn't be fair to compare the two. Then we have the Ground Zero, which everybody's been waiting for this review. So we have the Ground Zero 8-inch yellow basket coax. Weatherproof speaker, doesn't run a horn, so it would not be fair to compare that one with the BEYMA because the BEYMA runs a horn. And price point, you're talking $350 a set for the 8-inch Ground Zeros versus $1,600 a set for the BEYMA. Once again, if price is an option, if you're on a budget, then obviously you can't look at a $1,600 set of drivers, so the $350 set of drivers would be more attractive. The Diamond Audio 8-inch falls in between because it costs less than the BEYMA, but it costs more than the Ground Zero. But once again, not weatherproof. The cone is weather treated. You can get the cone wet, but water cannot collect on the speaker because it does not have the boot between the tweeter and the voice call and will destroy the voice call. I've confirmed with Diamond Audio, they will not warranty the speaker if it has water damage. So once again, I can't compare it to the Euphoria because the Euphoria is weather resistant. Can compare it to the BEYMA, but once again, they're not in the same price point or power class. So we'll call the BEYMA be all, end all, not weatherproof, loudest if you apply the most power. We'll call the Euphoria the baddest, be all, end all, ton of power handling, 100% weatherproof, available 4-ohm. We'll call the Diamond Audio super duper loud, half the price of its competitors, but it is not weather resistant, and it is also half the price. So offers excellent value in a non-weatherproof speaker that plays really, really loud, but it doesn't have the mid-bass that the Ground Zero has, and it does not have the power handling that the Euphoria or the BEYMA have. So it's really hard to put them head to head with each other, but I can test them all individually and let you listen. friggin' loud.